Hard to believe that it's been almost 2 years since the release of my video exploring the lost deleted scenes from John Hughes' Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Following its release, there have been a lot of interesting developments, including some great write-ups from a lot of entertainment sites, one of which even got the attention of Steve Martin himself.
Look, I don't want to be rude, but I'm not much of a conversationalist, and I'd really like to finish this article. A friend of mine wrote it.
I also heard from extras who appeared in some of those deleted scenes, as well as a filmmaker and fellow fan with an amazing collection of behind-the-scenes Polaroids detailing the production. But truly, the most exciting piece of news came just this month, when Paramount announced the release of a 4K Blu-ray, which will contain over 75 minutes of deleted content.
Wow!
Now, I don't know for sure if my video was at all responsible for this, but I do know that the awareness it created, resulting from those of you that shared, commented, and talked about it, definitely helped further the cause, so I'm really thankful for that. I don't know what to expect in regards to that footage and the shape it will be in, but I of course will be unpacking it all in the video next month when the Blu-ray releases, so be sure to check back then to hear my thoughts. Another interesting development since the release of that original video was a viewer sending me this great Q&A with the film's editor Paul Hirsch and James Hughes, where they talk about the original ending.
The end of the film is not written the way you see it today. In the original script, Steve gets on the train, goes out to the suburbs, he walks into the train station and trips over the trunk once again. And he looks up and Dell is sitting there, and the train station that we see at the end, which is supposed to be back in the city, was originally intended to be the suburban train station.
This was a huge revelation to me, and a detail that I got dead wrong in my video. Basically, the movie was written and later filmed with Steve Martin's character Neil saying goodbye to John Candy's Dell on this platform in downtown Chicago, only to then find Dell waiting for him at his local train station. Following an outburst of anger by Neil, Dell would have explained about him being homeless, which is left in the film, but he would have expanded upon that further by talking about how he latched himself to people during the holidays out of loneliness. I incorrectly theorized that this speech took place in the diner, shown in this still, which wasn't the case, as this was from an unrelated deleted scene. This expanded speech and the rest of the scene still would have taken place at this train station. Though the film's true ending, with Neil deciding to bring Dell home, remained, John Hughes felt that having Dell follow Neil to his home station made the character too unlikable, and wanted it changed. Without the option to reshoot, Paul Hirsch then used this B-roll of Steve Martin as they were setting up for a shot, and some earlier clips to make it look like Neil pieces together Dell's past on his own. A reverse shot of the train pulling out of the downtown Chicago platform, and voila! The entire ending was restructured and damn near perfectly at that. A testament to good coverage and editing, allowing them the flexibility to change things. You can definitely still see traces of that original confrontation though. In hindsight, it comes off slightly more angry than sympathetic. But this new piece of information got me thinking. If this end train station scene wasn't filmed as Neil returning to that Lasalle Van Buren platform in Chicago, then where did this scene take place?
It's been a long day, it just didn't occur to me.
Again, as written, this would have been Neil's local station. But all of my searching for Planes, Trains, and Automobiles ending station just led me back to that original Van Buren platform. I really wanted to know where this iconic scene took place, and I figured the only way I could find out for certain was to investigate myself. It's a journey that ironically took me on Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, but it would give me a chance to visit some other locations from my favorite movie. So come with me as we try to step back in time to piece together one of the best endings in film history. My trek began from Philadelphia, flying into Neil Page's intended destination of Chicago's O'Hare Airport. Fortunately, unlike Neil, I found myself without delay, although I did have a hotel room with one bed. I had a lot of searching and research to do in trying to find this station, so I figured I'd start my location tour with one that has been found and well documented, the El Rancho Motel. Now, I should remind those of you watching that some of these locations are privately owned, so please be respectful if you plan to visit them yourself. The motel is located near the Wisconsin border, in Gurnee, Illinois, and finding it was no challenge at all, considering it hasn't aged a day.
Push! Put your own face I am! Push, for Christ's sake!
It makes me wonder if they haven't changed things because they get a lot of fans of the movie visiting here. You can still see that great bullhead above the doors, and even the outside of the motel office looks exactly the same. Now, my original plan was to try to actually rent room 6, where the Doritos and tequila scene was filmed.
Is this a good combo or what?
No.
Probably not.
You can see the inside of the room in this exterior shot, meaning that the interiors were shot here as well. A lot of planes, trains, and automobiles was filmed on location, even the random interiors of motels and diners. But I could find no phone number or website for this place online, and when I showed up, the place was eerily desolate. I decided to peek into the lobby and was shocked by how unchanged the entire space was. Everything from the carpet to the wood paneling looks like it's exactly the same as it appeared in the movie. I seriously expected to see a robe-clad attendant coming out of the back.
I don't own the place.
There was also this inexplicable amount of mail piled up, and not a sign of another human being in sight. Like I said, I really wanted to see the inside of one of these rooms, as I had a feeling they were just as unchanged as the rest of the place. But I was starting to get horror movie vibes, and I felt it best to get going.
I'm gonna have to say goodnight, so...
Still, it was great to stand where the camera crew would have been in getting this shot. Though I'm disappointed the wall was fixed.
Huh.
Moving along, I next wanted to visit the Lasalle Van Buren platform in downtown Chicago. One, because I just really wanted to see where this scene was filmed, and two, because I needed to confirm that no station resembling the one in the movie existed at this location. If you look at the scene in the movie, you can clearly see a parking lot behind Dell, meaning the station where this was filmed was not an elevated one. It would also have just made no sense for them to film here, which again, we already knew. If you live in the Chicago area, you'll know that this stop is an elevated platform, and the structures surrounding it barely offer enough room for turnstiles, let alone huge wooden benches.
Okay. I see.
I did buy a couple of tickets though to explore both sides of the platform. Again, this spot has remained pretty unchanged since filming. You can even match up the exact posts behind Steve Martin in this shot, and the ad boards behind John Candy. So with the obvious now confirmed that the end station was not here, where do I go next? Well, I thought of my favorite shot in the movie, of Neil and Dell walking down the street with Dell's trunk. I felt it implied that the two of them would have been able to walk to Neil's home from wherever this was.
And if they told you Wolverines would make good house pets, would you believe them?
The one thing that's often really accurate about John Hughes movies is the Chicago locations, meaning if a character lived in a certain neighborhood, they also went to the school that kids who lived in that neighborhood went to. Like in Uncle Buck, Tia's high school is less than 5 minutes from the Russells' home. With that in mind, I decided to look up the nearest train station to where Neil's house was located, and it turned out there was a depot less than a mile away, in the Kenilworth neighborhood. I felt a rush of excitement as I drove up, got out of my car, and promptly discovered it was not the location. Though picturesque and close geographically, the space was just a little too small. Also, the station in the movie has double doors with windows on either side. The entire neighborhood was beautiful though, and I could relate to Dell saying this,
You are one lucky guy, Neil.
as I looked around me. But alas, it was not it, so back to the drawing board. While going frame by frame through this scene looking for any clue I could find, I noticed you can see in the reflection of the train window the word Linden. A quick Google search revealed that there is a Linden Station just 2 miles from the Kenilworth one.
I mean, that was close.
Again, with excitement building, I drove to the station to discover it's also not the one in the movie. The station has large glass windows and is round in shape, nothing like the one in the movie, as we can tell from the interiors that the station here has an angled roof. I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty defeated at this point. It was becoming clear that this station could have been anywhere in the Chicago area, or it might have even been a set. As I was about to drive back to my hotel, I decided to try one last thing. Though I've read the Planes, Trains, and Automobiles script dozens of times, I don't remember ever seeing a location introduced beyond a standard exterior train station day. Even the Van Buren platform is written as exterior elevated train platform, but I figured what the hell. I pulled up a copy on my phone, scrolled down to the end, and to my surprise I saw this. Interior, Wilmette Subway Station, day. Though almost every other location listed in the script uses a basic description, John Hughes left a big clue here. I pulled up Google again and discovered the Wilmette Station was a mile from where I stood, and I rushed on over. As I got out of my car and looked at the building before me, it checked all of the boxes. There was a parking lot on one side, train tracks on the other, double doors with windows, and an angled roof. Wandering inside, I found the station totally empty, giving me a chance to look around in detail. This was definitely closer than the previous stations I had been at, but things didn't line up completely. The walls, ceiling, and fixtures were different than they appear in the movie, but the layout was exactly the same. Neil would have come in this door. Dell would have been sitting around here, with the door next to him showing the parking lot on the other side. And this ticket window would have been at his back. If this was the station used in the movie, it had clearly been remodeled at some point, but I felt the layout was too similar to be a coincidence. It also just felt right. I can't explain it. It was only after I gathered this footage and left that I did some research and discovered that the station was indeed remodeled in 2001. I also discovered this photo of how it appeared in 1963, and just looking at the roof and the windows, I can confidently say that this indeed was the station where the scene was filmed.
I knew you.
I'm a little bummed that it doesn't appear like it did in the movie, but the fact that I got to see it, and now you can go see it too, feels like a big deal for fans of this movie. I may be wrong, and I hope that any of you in the Chicago area can maybe either attest or confirm this discovery, but all the evidence I could find points to the Wilmette Depot being where the most pivotal moment in the movie was filmed. I decided to end my location tour appropriately where the movie also ends, and my favorite frame in film history took place. Watching the movie, I always wondered if the street Del and Neil were walking on actually led to Neil's home, or if it was just cut to make it look that way. Well, being the detail-oriented filmmaker that John Hughes was, I shouldn't have been surprised to see the Page residence dead center at the end of this street. There was some construction happening the day I was there, but again, everything from the signpost to the trees in the background suggests that little has changed here. To see what John Candy and Steve Martin saw while filming this shot made the whole trip worthwhile to me. Again, this is a neighborhood where people live, so if you visit, please be respectful, but it's just so cool to see as a fan of the movie. You know, I spend so much time talking about movies on this channel that I really took for granted how special it could be to actually live them. So if you enjoyed this video, please let me know, because I'd love to do more.